Hello and welcome everybody to Be the Wellness Podcast. Adam and Vanessa Lambert just lining up the in-person podcast recently, which is phenomenal. Yeah, we made a shift to say, you know what, we want to do more of these, and guess what, we're doing more of these.
We're doing more of them, yeah. And it's just really, again, like the energy for us in the room is so special that we assume and we hope it's translating to you folks out there. But we think it is. You know, we do know the difference when you're in live and in person, and you know, we're able to sit across the table from folks and make eye contact and, you know, just exchange story and just communicate like we used to before we had all of this technology.
Right, before people were on the other side of the world. Yeah. And I mean, the remote podcasts are awesome because we get the opportunity to connect with people that we wouldn't otherwise.
Yes.
Which is great.
There's nothing, nothing against the remote ones.
Yeah.
It's just really fun for us to actually create a little space in our life to connect with people live and in person.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, a few weeks ago, we had Cassie Parks on, and we were talking about the power of your thought and intention and like saying things and sort of, and we said it at one point. We're like, look, we want to make this more of a focus.
Yes.
And like literally just now realized that it's happening. Like we've done more in-person podcasts in the last month than we have in the previous 3 years of podcasting. So yeah.
You know where else we'll be doing an in-person podcast?
Paleo Effects.
Nope.
B-Fest.
B-Fest.
Yes.
Yeah. We will be doing an in-person podcast there and, you know, sharing that live with our audience, which will be really exciting. And if you have yet to sign up for B-Fest, now's the time because that is just kicking around the corner. And we've got some new payment options out there. We've got some more ways to make it easier for you guys to attend. So especially because there's so many new folks coming into our ecosystem, we know that sometimes the pricing is tough, you know, when you find out about something last minute. So we've opened up a bunch of new payment options and just making it super easy for people to get in and participate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So check it out.
We don't want money to stop you.
Yes, it's true. It's true. Or like traffic.
Or
we don't really want traffic to stop people either.
Or what else?
You know, pretty much anything.
Yeah, we don't want anything to stop you, really.
Rain nor sleet nor snow.
So we're working on the weather. we're working on new weather patterns to get you there and safely and without any kind of influence. But we have figured out the money part.
Right.
Which is a big one.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
So so you can get in, you can take advantage of some of the awesome options that we have and come participate. You know, it's one of those things that we're really committed to. Again, this is something that we've said for years now, but we're committed to this community, the building of this community, the connection, you know, feeling like we aren't just, you know, lone rangers out there in our mission to create these, you know, not only just a better, healthy homeostasis for ourselves, but like for the planet, for each other. What can we give? What can we share? How can we make this, you know, beyond ourselves? And that's what we're really committed to. And B-Fest is really our first sort of stab at making that into realness, you know, creating that in real time. And obviously our smaller events do this to some degree, but this is really like, you know, a larger experience of that.
Bam. Just re-recorded a new mission statement for B-Fest.
Yes, exactly.
And speaking of mission statements, the people that we have on the podcast today have got a cool one.
Yes, we've got husband and wife team Cindy Lou and Earl Martin, who are the founders of Malibu Essential Oils. And we've had them on before, which was kind of like a turning point for me personally and for us, I think, in general, in terms of the essential oil story. Just kind of, you know, I've always been intrigued by it. I've always been interested, but I kind of didn't know where to go or how to seek it out or, you know, how to kind of integrate it into my life. And to be honest, Cindy Lou and Earl have really made that possible. They've really kind of given us a framework for how to start integrating some of these things into our lives.
Yeah, how to look at it. Because like for me, it was always, I kind of put it in the same category as like homeopathy, right? So like things like arnica, where you're like, man, there sure is a lot of anecdotal evidence about this being helpful, you know, when you have bruising and pain and this kind of stuff. But I always just sort of put the essential oils there just in like the back of my mind of something that I'm like, I don't understand how that could work, but whatever, people have kind of got their thing. But since then, and since the podcast, I've done quite a bit of research on this, and it's one of those things that you're not going to find a tremendous amount of, double-blind, placebo-controlled, like really well put together studies, just because who's paying for it? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and I also kind of wonder, like, with essential oils, so much of it is scent that you're like, well, wouldn't the people just smell it and know that they're not in the placebo group? I don't know.
Well, no, you could totally do it with synthetic smells, right?
Okay,
so this actually would be one of the easiest ones to do.
You're right. Okay. Yeah. So, true. Okay.
But it's pretty interesting.
Yes.
Like some of the work that has been done is super interesting, especially when it comes to hormone balancing, and then the hair regrowth piece is remarkable. These rat studies with, I'm not even sure how they generated the bald mice.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. I mean, they gave these mice androgenic alopecia, which is basically just the hormone-driven hair loss.
Right.
That's like male pattern baldness, right? That's where that comes from.
Yeah.
And with peppermint oil, they grew like crazy hair on these, otherwise bald rats. And it's remarkable. It's like you can go and Google that and you will find the study immediately and read through it. And you're like, wow, all right.
Yeah. And Adam is, if anything, terrified of losing his hair. So he's very curious. And
committed to figuring that stuff out, because like what it comes down to is, it's just a bummer. Like I don't want to lose my hair. I like my hair, and it's like
you have good hair.
About a year ago, I started like shedding, to the point where I see it on my pillow, and like when I wash my hair, it's on my hands, and like all this kind of stuff. I'm like, all right, what's going on here? So I started doing some figuring on trying to see what goes on with that, and one of the first things I found was this like natural remedies, and there's a lot of them, because you can buy a tremendous amount of hair loss products out there for men, most of which are chock full of a bunch of chemicals and stuff, which, depending on who you listen to in this whole world, may be actually the problem, right? For all of this kind of stuff. But there's one that is clearly backed up, by these studies, and granted they're rat models, but like the mechanism makes sense to me. And it's peppermint and rosemary in a carrier oil, which I use magnesium oil, and you put it on your scalp every night before bed, and you get a nice tingly, you smell a little weird.
I like the way you smell, actually. I think it's quite nice. It's like, oh, my peppermint spice is coming to bed.
It's like, what else do you use rosemary for, though?
Like
well,
that's
turkey?
true.
So
but
like
mostly you smell
turkey.
Like peppermint.
Yeah,
so it's like a little peppermint patty on the pillow next to me.
Yeah. But it, in combination with all of the other things that I'm doing, it seems to be working. Like I've stopped shedding my hair. So anyway,
which is awesome. No,
there.
honestly. And I think that this is exactly the point that we're making, is that these oils have a tremendous breadth of possibility that I think we are literally just barely scratching the surface on. And I think Cindy Lou and Earl have a wealth of information and knowledge about these oils. But I think the part of that is that sometimes we get overwhelmed. We get overwhelmed, like, okay, where do I start? How do I begin? I don't even know which oils are which. And so we're actually going to talk about a program that we'll be all participating in, where we're going to be just kind of distilling down some of the basics. Like, here's a few oils, here's a few uses, just kind of giving people a framework of how to start using these in their lives and not feel so overwhelmed. But you can start to just see the difference. You can start to actually get into a relationship with what these oils can do for you. And I honestly am really passionate about them, and I think that they actually are way more powerful than any of us have yet to even discover. And we're just learning, scratching the surface with like what's possible for them. And I'm really excited. We talked a little bit in the podcast about hormone balancing. We talked about, a couple of just sort of basic overall ways to use it for different medical things, headaches and stress and things like that. So, there's those basic things. And then, I think that once you actually get into using them, you develop your own personal relationship with the plants. And I think it's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll talk about it more in the podcast, but like I liken it to this idea that like, okay, I, for a host of reasons, mostly about the way that I feel and the side effects that I know come from this stuff, steer clear of most over-the-counter things. Like I'm not, I don't not like a 2 Advil a day guy. You know what I mean? I don't take Dayquil. I don't take Sudafed. I don't do it because it's like, man, this is masking a symptom, or it's shutting down some process that your body needs to be going through to do things for an otherwise healthy person. And what I'm starting to find and sort of kind of come to grips with some of the essential oils and these blends of oils is that there are other ways of managing this stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
So if you can just create your little toolkit, this is like, okay, instead of Dayquil, I have this little bottle of oil that works, and instead of this, I've got this little thing, so
yeah, absolutely. Cool. And we talk about this in the podcast, using it in Peru, using it here at home, just like really starting to integrate these into our daily lives, and what we reach for when something's going on, what's our default thing that we reach for. And for us, it really has become the essential oils and these plant medicines. So it's really exciting. We're going to be talking about a program that we're offering. The first 30 people are going to get their product for free. They just have to pay shipping to receive them. But I mean, honestly, if you are out there and you have any inclination towards wondering how to use these oils, what they're all about, and just need a jumping off point, I highly recommend this. Cindy Lou and Earl are obviously spearheading it, but our very own B. Jennifer Argandiza, who many of you know from retreats and has been with us for a long time, she'll be participating as one of the main facilitators in that as well. So we're really starting to kind of grab a gear and throw our hat in the rink to this, because we really do see how beneficial it can be for people when you're already on this health journey, when you've already, you already know that eating right and moving and mindfulness, you already understand those basic pillars. This is just one more layer you can add into it.
Yeah, we haven't come up with the oil blend for gluten intolerance yet. Like that, not quite there yet.
Exactly,
but it's cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. So we hope you guys enjoy this podcast and you get a lot out of it. And we hope that we'll see you in the program. And until then, here we go.
And we are live. Welcome back to the podcast, you guys.
Thank you.
Hi. Yes, it's so exciting. This time we get to sit across from each other.
I know.
And we know each other.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. It makes such a big difference. The remote podcasts are challenging, in general, just because you don't know anybody, or you're not sitting there to talk to people. But then when you don't know them, it's even more difficult.
Yeah.
But when you do know somebody, it's like, okay, it's marginal. But when you have people in person that it's a whole different
the best.
It's
our first one was so good. We went to Costa Rica with you.
Yeah.
So.
Well, see, that's the thing. That says something about how professional we are at making awkward not feel awkward. We've gotten pro at that.
Yeah, that might actually be part of the job description.
Yeah.
So what do you guys do? Well, we make potentially awkward situations seem like pretty smooth.
I think that is part of your job description.
I think so
very
too.
much, because in our experience, you definitely smoothed out some things for us.
That could be a fallback career for sure.
Yeah.
The smoother.
And so,
what are you doing next Christmas with my family?
Yeah.
Like, who is this guy? Don't worry, it'll all make sense here in a little while. It's gonna be the best Christmas we've had.
So, Cindy Lou and Earl obviously are very into essential oils, and we're going to talk about that first. But first, I want to talk about your other budding career, which is your ukulele band.
Cosmic Pig, you mean?
The Cosmic Pig.
Oh, he outed it.
Wow. You heard it here first.
That just happened.
It's really awesome. You guys have like a little duo thing that you do, and you both play a little ukulele and you both sing. And so maybe you could just tell us, when's the big debut? When's the album launch?
Well, there's not going to be any album launch soon, because we have to record some songs. Actually, the first recording we did was for the opening to the podcast.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool.
It was. But it's a thing that I picked up, and he was already a musician, just so that we have something we can do together that's analog.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
And that won't be limited by our age, and it really helps us communicate with other people. It's just a language I wanted to learn, that if I could learn 12 chords, that I might be able to talk to people that otherwise I have no commonality with, language-wise. So it's been really fun that way. That's why I brought it to Costa Rica, because when I take it to Mexico, it's a party, you know, like we don't have to talk to anybody in the same language to suddenly have something going.
Right.
So
I love that. Yeah.
And it's such a friendly sound.
It really is. But that's interesting, right? Because isn't that true that a sound can be friendly?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you say that, but there's just something happy about it. And I don't know whether or not it's the kind of songs that people tend to sing on ukulele that make it kind of that upbeat vibe, but like it really is. You hear it, it's just all of a sudden everyone's happy.
I'm some dark shit on the ukulele.
Some ukulele death
creep.
But it always sounds kind of happy.
Yeah.
It totally sounds like the happiest version of creep you've ever heard.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same way with the cello. Is always kind of sad.
It's true. Yeah. No matter what, there's no happy cello songs.
So the podcast. Why don't we stop there for a minute, you guys? So give us a little bit of background, really quick, about kind of your other professional careers, but how you got into essential oils, just to kind of get the audience up to speed if they didn't hear the first podcast, and then tell us about your new podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you were the
I've been wanting a podcast forever.
You were the gateway drug.
I wanted a podcast before.
But you were the one who got us into
cool.
essential oils.
Oh yes. I was also the one that got us into essential oils. So that's my lead. My role is like I'm trotting down the trail in front of him going like, come on.
Yeah.
I think it's cool over here. Oh, no, turn back. So I got into the essential oils because I was sad one day and in a lot of pain. My dog had died. Our dog had died, Road Dog, who was my beating heart and Zen master.
Aww.
I mean, our thing was WWRDD. What would Road Dog do?
Yeah.
Do that. So he was gone, and I just happened to be at the Malibu Healing Center where I had a practice and doing energy healing work, and I wandered into the class that was going on. And I had no idea what was going on. I had no attraction to essential oils. I didn't really know anything about them, good or bad. So when they put some of this deep blue rub on my wrist, I had 2 wrist braces on at that time, and was literally just crying, like every breath was a little bit of and they took the braces off, they put the deep blue on, they taught their stuff. I smelled some frankincense, I smelled some wild orange, and I left there feeling totally fine. Like I was okay, Road Dog was okay, my wrists are okay.
Wow.
And so that transition made me look at it and just like, okay, just give me that big box of stuff. And then I came home and said like, I've made an executive decision today.
And I said, "What? That's smelly stuff, right? I don't like smelly stuff."
Yeah, he hated everything with smells and fragrance because of our. We were so sensitive to synthetics because we had lived in black mold for 7 years. So we were avoiding every kind of fragrance because that's just one of the things that you have to do. So our black and white color world was either no smell or bad smell.
Got it.
And it was as if the essential oils just lit up. It literally was like landing in Oz, where suddenly like all this color, was happening, and it just was super exciting.
Yeah.
So we ended up going down that road because we realized, smell is not just something that you don't need, right? Even people come to us who have anosmia, which is they've lost their sense of smell, and their doctors will basically tell them, sucks for you, you'll be fine, right?
Yeah.
And we go like, whoa, that's a big deal. I mean, not only is it such a pleasure sensor and something you associate with memory, but what about smells like fire and
Right.
yeah.
Some legitimately dangerous
gas,
things.
they put odor in gas so we could smell it and know we're
Yeah.
in danger, and they don't know they're in danger either. So, for us to have smell back and to share that with people is sort of like, showing people, did you know that blue is a thing?
Right.
And it's everywhere. That's how exciting it is.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. I feel like, so Adam has a very sensitive nose. Yeah. And he tends to shy away from things, but even for you, the essential oils have been very appealing and very like therapeutic. And it's one of those things where I feel like even if you don't understand why it's happening or what's happening, you have this innate sense of like these scents, these fragrances, and these plants are doing something magical for you. Even if you can't really put into words or like adequately, I'm really having a great time with words today. You can't adequately articulate why it feels that way. You can just feel that like something is there, something special. Yeah. So for you, Earl, so the box is in the living room or in the bedroom or the kitchen, and you're like, what kind of made you start to peek into it and sort of check it out?
Well, we had a little info on, what the oils do. So kind of looking at that, I was like, well, they say they're good for sleep. So that was really my gateway in.
Oh, got it.
Because I was using sleeping pills and having so much trouble sleeping that I started using just lavender and vetiver every night, and it like immediately was better, and I just got off pills.
Wow,
which was amazing.
Yeah.
Plus, then no hangovers from it. No side effects, no grogginess, and there's none of that. So completely natural. But then also just exciting to have scents that were not offensive. And I was like, wow, that really smells great. And these were so clean and pure that it was just a completely different thing. Plus, things for digestion, had been having trouble with digestion. So oils for that, the oils that you could actually take internally was mind-boggling to me. I didn't even know that existed. And that they could help you with that kind of stuff. So just little by little, just, trying it out, because we had this big kit of stuff and there was so many options that like basically do anything with it.
Right.
So
that's why I got the big one.
Right.
Yeah. And also, of course, the deep blue was also a favorite for me right away, just for, neck and back pain, working at the computer all the time, just long hours. So it's just, too much sitting and, static positioning. So
got it.
Those kind of aches and pains, little things like that it was just great for that.
Yeah.
I think the thing for us was we had no idea.
Right.
Like I said, I didn't even have a bad opinion of essential oils.
Right.
They just weren't even on my radar as a thing. And I was an energy healer.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm stuck behind some desk and I don't know. It was right there all the time, and I think that's what we enjoy sharing with people. It's like, no, look, they're right here and they can be right there for you all the time, because we just felt like we were on a little bit of a decline slope with our health because of the black mold, and that we were doing all of these things for our health, but we were still kind of on the slide. And the oils really gave us the ability to get level and now feel like, oh, we're sliding downhill. You know what I mean? We can anti-age.
Right.
We can like increase our performance. We can go from an 8 to a 10 on a day instead of like trying to get from below 0 to a 3 or a 4. Wouldn't that feel great? Because that's how I felt before. Like people would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm like, I'm not on the 1 to 10 scale. I am in the hole. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'm down the well. So that's, I think, the exciting part for us too.
So I know, like for me, what's the blend? It's the On Guard?
Yeah.
Right? The oil is like On Guard, and then just the straight up oregano oil. Like those two things have saved my life twice.
Oh, yeah.
Like where
did you take them to Peru?
Yes.
We like start to get a little bit sick. And the first time was at Big Bear, and Angelo actually whipped up oregano oil and something or other blend. And that, I was like sick for probably 6 hours. And then the next day I was just good to go. And then the same thing happened in Peru. It was like the very last day we were in Peru, I got just sick as a dog. And On Guard, and so there was something else. I can't remember what it was.
Probably Melaleuca.
Oregano, and a little bit of lemon. That's your concoction.
That's the immunity blend. Yeah.
So I think Aaron actually told me about that. Yeah.
Okay, can I tell you, like, every time you guys mention this, that it came from somewhere, somebody that I have had a 50-minute conversation with about oils, that they actually had the thought to be like, I've got the tool, I know how to use the tool, let's apply the tool. Yeah. I'm like giddy inside.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. And like that's actually the great thing about this is that, so when you start to feel sick or something, you feel an onset of something, oftentimes like, what are your tools? You know, a lot of people are like, oh, should I take the Dayquil? Or like, you know, like, what are your options out there? And a lot of people don't realize there's this other natural kind of immune booster instead of like trying to deal with the symptoms or just, you know, whatever onslaught of symptoms come your way, trying to squelch them. It's like, actually you can go in and help the immune system and help it fight back or help it resolve whatever's going on. So yeah, it's like, it's really an awesome alternative to what we had access to before.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, there's no pill or medicine or anything that you get that fixes what you have. It's your body that's ultimately going to fix it.
Yes.
So it's a matter of how you get your body to do that. You know?
Right. Working with your body.
Yeah. And we have, like, think about it. We've all been trained by advertising of what we're supposed to take for what. And then you start to think that it's your idea. That
so
if I
true.
feel sick, I have my favorite thing that I go to for the symptoms.
Right.
Right. And then nobody really sits down and thinks, what would be my choice if I had an education on 3 or 4 alternatives? What would I personally choose for myself? And, you know, what about the people I hang out with? Right? What would they personally choose if we all removed all that programming? Oh, but they used to rub this on me when I was a kid, and oh, my doctor says to take that, and then blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, what if you could just narrow that down to your point of focus and be like, well, what do I have experience with, and what, based on who I am, would be my choice, right? So for all of us to think that you're, you know, you guys are these paleo experts, of course, plant medicine, you know, would be the most obvious choice. But still, somebody has to sit you down and be like, wait a minute, why don't you try plant medicine?
Right. Well, we just don't have the education,
no,
right?
Like, and who has time to focus on all these different things that we're doing in the world? You know what I mean? That's why teaming up with you guys is like, Earl's a primal health coach, but, you know, like, you guys have been doing that. And look at you. Oh, my God. You know, like...
Caught us on a good day.
That's awesome.
Full night's sleep.
Yeah, we slept last night.
I'm excited.
We've got a look made for podcasting.
No, not at all. Not at all. I say it takes one to know one. But no, I think that you're right. And I think that I love the point you made about being programmed by advertising, by all these things that we don't even realize. That's why our default settings are the way that they are. And actually, it was really cool in Peru. You know, Jennifer Argandiza, who's a beloved bee. And
love Jen.
Yes, we love her. And she's really taken on this essential oil kind of role within your company and our company. And, you know, we've been teaming up to try to figure out how to get more people involved in that. And I think that she came to Peru and she just had like her little apothecary. And it was amazing because honestly, on a trip like that, you're dealing with all these different weather elements, different foods, so their stomach conditions. Some people came down and were already under the weather. She was like, okay, you take this, you take that, you know, passing out oils left and right. And, you know, it was like everyone could feel a sense of relief from their chosen formula or their chosen thing that they
had a medicine woman with them.
They did.
You know, which is how soothing is that when you're in that environment that you would you realize, oh, we're a crew of 12 people.
Yeah.
And one of them's a medicine woman.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
We have our leaders, you know, we have this and that. And then we have this medicine woman. And I think for her, and we love Jen. I kind of feel like this is all about Jen. Like she's
in the middle. Jen, you're in the middle. Yeah.
Because she is that person that has taken on that role and feels it so organically like we have. You know, like, if this is Hogwarts, we're the potions teacher.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
totally.
that's our gig.
Yes, yeah. No, I love that.
She's a medicine woman, 100%.
I agree. And she's just really obviously used it in her own life, but it's been really cool, you know, having her on that trip and having her just, you know, pass out whatever everyone needed. It was just amazing. Yeah. So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about the project that we're getting ready to launch and that you guys that you're spearheading in this next, well, I guess when this podcast comes out, it'll be within a couple of weeks that the program starts up, right?
I mean, we're going to start it as soon as anybody's hearing this. They can go onto our website, malibueo.com. / big picture. Now I'm committed to making that work.
If not, just click the link.
Yeah.
The link will work for sure.
The link in the show notes.
Yeah. And basically, we're inviting you to choose a specific wellness wish, better mood and less stress. That's one. The second one would be better sleep, which is really important. I know that's one of your big pillars.
Yes.
Certainly is one of our pillars of life. Our first question every day is, how did you sleep?
You're
so
right.
we can figure out what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And then the third category, because it's you guys, right, is increased athletic performance and also reduction of pain.
Nice.
So
and recovery.
And recovery, speed of recovery, right?
Yeah.
So those are the three categories that we thought really matched for us as a group. And basically what we're going to do is send you 3 samples, 3 of these oils that we're talking about, right? And I know that maybe you've tried oils from other sources. This is doTERRA that we really love. We are internationally certified aromatherapists. We're not just brand whores, but then kind of we are. You know what I mean? Because if you're a fashionista, you still might have your favorite like go-to brand, right? It's Dolce all the way. Yeah. So that's kind of the way we feel about doTERRA. So we're going to send you samples of doTERRA oils, 3 for that condition. And then for 2 weeks, you're going to actually, at the beginning of the program, measure how you feel before the oils. This is really important way to do this, to understand the oils. And then for 2 weeks, we'll give you all kinds of instructions. I mean, Adam and Vanessa are going to include videos of things that they do because it's big picture wellness. That's the name of the program, Big Picture Wellness.
Right.
Because we constantly remind people who come to us for oils that if you don't change your diet to be something that you're conscious of and choosing for yourself, whatever that choice is, right? The oils are not going to solve your digestive issues.
Right. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then if you are only sleeping 3 hours a night, the oils are not going to solve your tiredness issues. Right? And that if you want to be stronger and more flexible, you need to be doing, obviously, other things along with helping to reduce the pain.
Right.
We don't just want people to numb themselves out and then think that they can do more than they're capable of. Right? So with you guys, we can create a balanced program so that in 2 weeks' time, if people spend maybe 10 to 15 minutes in engagement and then trying the oils, that's total time, right? Total time on education, total time on your applying of the oils.
Right.
Then at the end of 2 weeks, you're going to have a much larger picture
Right.
of how this all works together. And I'd love for us also to throw in some of our favorite links of things that we use on a regular basis because, we were just saying, we live this lifestyle.
Right.
We do it for work.
Right.
We spend a lot of time. One thing my sister who works in corporate, she just tells me, like, just give me the answers. I don't have time all day to be like researching stuff and trying stuff like you do. Right. What I mean? So just like try everything and then just give me the skinny. What have you come up with? Right. And so that's what I want us to do in this program is for every category, just give people our little hacks and tricks and secrets so that they have it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's so important that you have the hacks and tricks and all that good stuff, but then there's just enough time to actually be in a conversation with the oils and with each other. And I think obviously we know how important the group sort of learning system can be. And so that's what I love about this is that it's like it's giving you these bite-sized chunks of information so you don't feel overwhelmed, but you also get to kind of be in a larger conversation with it, hearing what other people are saying. And sometimes, someone might say, oh, I feel this or I have this result that maybe you don't even realize you have yourself. And you're like, oh, actually, I do experience that. I relate to that, although I wouldn't have realized it if someone else didn't mention it. So that's why the power of the group can be so great with this stuff. And I'm excited about like just getting people into this group setting, learning about these oils and just learning about the possibility of what they could create for you. Yeah.
And letting everybody be a newbie, and feel that newbiness. And so that somebody's going to ask your question for you if you don't ask it yourself. And we're going to do live webinars so that you can have, a live sense of question and answer as well. So it's going to be really exciting and fun. This is our first time trying this, but we want to partner with people who are already living a lifestyle that this slides right into as an additional superpower.
Yeah,
really.
That's one of those things that's really exciting about this is because of what the community that you've cultivated and the people that are interested in this, they're already paying attention. They're looking at their diet. They're looking at their exercise. They're looking at all these health aspects. So they're health conscious.
Right.
So with that in mind, they're going to be more aware of a subtle change or a change by adding in a new element.
Right.
They're like, okay, this is something new. We can, we have a baseline that we know that we can measure it against. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
And there's research involved too, right? So the questionnaires at the beginning and at the end with their metrics are going to be really fascinating for all of us to see, because really the way plant medicine knowledge has been spread is through stories,
right?
And by sharing results. So we want to know, it's personal. It's your experience. You're not right or wrong. Anything that's happening to you, what you like and don't like, you're allowed to say you don't like what you got, and we probably send you something different.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's really so intensely personal that there isn't a right and wrong way to do it. That's why you have to prove it for yourself.
Yeah. So what you're talking about is a little N=1 experiment for everybody that participates.
Exactly.
So they're going to go in, they're going to take the questionnaire, sort out this, and then at the end, they're going to redo it and evaluate themselves, which is cool.
I've never heard that term before, but yes.
Yes, N=1. That's the
biohacking sort of term where you say, the experiment is of, N is the variable, and it equals 1, so it's individual.
Okay, but except for we're going to have at least 30, right? Because we are going to offer 30 of the first people that hear this podcast free entry into this program. They just have to pay for shipping. So they'll get their oils, they'll get the program materials, and they'll get entered into the private group so that they can participate, because we kind of want to know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially with your audience, because they are so conscious of what's happening in their body. You know, like I have people, with their Diet Coke asking me if the oils are safe.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
that's kind of funny, actually.
Set down the Diet Coke and put lemon in your water, and you will be 1,000,000 times better off. Let's just start there.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why this audience is really exciting to us.
Yeah, and they're good. They provide good feedback.
Yes. So what's so I'm just trying to set the stage. You reach out to Malibu Essential Oils, you get your kit. There's going to be a Facebook group that you join. And then is there going to be a bit of information each day, or how does the rollout go so that folks know what to expect?
Every day is going to have a theme, balance and, play, sleep, stress, meditation, mindfulness, those are all going to happen now.
You're speaking this thing into existence.
We are speaking into the future. I am time traveling.
We're borrowing from the future.
That's right. So you're going to find all those. So I thought we would do it theme by a day so that we could do the oil and all of our extra things that we do for that thing. Flexibility. Right.
So how do you use it? And so here's the oil, but then here's also the movements. Here's how we use
so
these
we'll
things.
just do that separately. We'll do an oil part, and you guys say what you would do for flexibility and using the oil or not using the oil. You know what I mean? I would say use the oil, right? Because that's the experiment.
Right.
But normally you guys do that stuff without it, too.
Well, sometimes with and sometimes without. I think in Costa Rica, actually, you had some oils that we used for flexibility. And since we're sitting here, I'm like,
are you hoarding?
There's oils. Can you see my little shelf down there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of them.
Nice.
Yeah. Ours is our master bedroom.
This is why I feel like I don't really know like what to do with them. I just get them and I like put them in my hands and I sniff them and I'm like just kind of pay attention to how I feel. But
that's enough.
Yeah, it really is. And that's why I haven't like got too worried about getting like being pro at it. But I would like to keep expanding my knowledge base and knowing, you know, when I'm in this particular situation, what's that blend?
Yeah.
Like the thing for, you know, when Adam wasn't feeling well and knowing, oh, okay, oregano, melaleuca, on guard, lemon, like knowing that you can actually execute with that is such a cool feeling because you're like, okay, I don't feel helpless now. I feel like we have something. Here's some charcoal. Here's some essential oils. Like let's give you the things that we know will work.
And that's part of the thing with these kits that you know, doTERRA has these great kits. So that's part of this thing too, where we kind of show you these 8 or 10 oils that come in a kit. They can cover everything. Yeah. You know, it's like having a box of 10 crayons. It's like it doesn't have all the individual colors, but you can make any colors you want, or paints or whatever, like that kind of thing, where you can blend them and make these great other scents and create different effects. So it'll do everything. Yeah. With just that few oils, even just 10 oils, you can do everything.
Yeah, I think is that the medical kit? Is that the
family essentials kit?
The family essential kit.
Okay, there's a home essentials kit and a family something
essentials kit.
It
used to be called the family physicians kit. That was next.
Yeah,
that's right.
That one down. Yeah.
Family physicians kit. When I started, that's what I bought. That was my first kit.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like to take place of the first aid kit, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Instead of the aspirins or maybe not the Band-Aids. You might still need the Band-Aids if you have a cut, but it was like to treat whatever ailments were going on in your home, right? And
it's to support every single system of the body. Yeah. You know, we're not doctors. Oh my God, we're not doctors, and we don't need to be. You know, we just need to know what oil is for what system of the body, and then that way, like we gave you these little kits, our Game Changer kit and a little doTERRA kit that just has 5/8 drams in it, because once you know that frankincense is good for everything, and that lavender is good for your skin and anxiety and is an antihistamine, and that peppermint is good for pretty much everything, right? That when you see there's an issue going on, your body's making a little complaint or request, that you just know what to do. But we would never want to, like, just like you guys, you know so much about exercise and fitness, but if somebody came to you and said, like, all I know how to do is walk and stretch, you'd be like, that's fantastic.
That's great. Yes.
Do lots of that.
Do lots of that. You know, so if we can show you 3 oils and you just go like, I know a lot about these 3 oils, we're going to say fantastic. You know, like that's all you need. Yeah. So we really don't want to intimidate people, because I think we've made that mistake before. We know so much that we want people to like know everything we know right away. Because there's so much you can do. Right. But at the same time, you know, I had somebody sit down and say, like, I have $10. I said, get a bottle of lemon. Yeah. Right?
Which I remember was your one oil that you said was the magic oil. Right? That's like the one bit of information I stored. I was like, the lemon. And because the lemon there's just something about it. It's like you just smell the lemon and your whole life is just on blast.
Yeah, it's great for your mood. It's gonna detox your body. It's
like you can put it in your water.
Yeah, it's cleansing.
It's just like, it's so money. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing, I think what you were saying about not being doctors is an interesting point, because none of us are doctors, and you don't have to be a doctor to go buy Tamiflu or, you know, any of these over-the-counter medicines that we all take because we think we know what they're for. And like for us, like I don't take any of that. Like I don't take any NSAIDs because they make me feel terrible. You know, aspirin occasionally, you know, if I have to, but like all the rest of that stuff,
Benadryl
I don't take.
Like a trink gun.
I don't take Benadryl.
Give Adam half a Benadryl and he's like, it's like literally got hit by a trink dart. Like he's out.
But he could be taking lavender because that's nature's antihistamine, and then like Roman chamomile, which helps with any allergic reactions, and then some respiratory oils. And he never would have had to get tranquilized.
Right.
Also, you know what I mean? you're not taxing your liver.
Right.
And it's fast. That's the other thing about the essential oils. They're so fast compared to taking other drugs or, over-the-counter stuff or any of that.
Yeah.
But
totally.
I caught myself one day with Manhattan in one hand and 4 Advil in the other hand. And I stopped and I looked at myself and said, look at yourself.
Yeah.
Look at you. And the other person was like, I just want to get some sleep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I understand that pain where you're like, you just want some sleep, but I didn't know. Like, all right, you want to club yourself in the head, fill a capsule full of vetiver, rub yourself down with Deep Blue, get in an Epsom salt bath, and that will do it. And your body will love you for it.
Right.
As opposed to what I was doing, which I think most people are doing. So here we are disempowered to say like, oh, I need to check with my doctor for everything. But at the same time, wandering into supermarkets and drugstores and bars and just doping ourselves up like crazy.
Yeah, totally.
It's this really weird disempowerment dichotomy that we are in.
So I want to just take a minute and actually just distill and make things simple again, like we're talking about here, and maybe just talk about a couple quick solutions for these types of things. So like, for instance, someone has a headache. What do you guys do? What's the like go-to solution for a headache?
Our go-to is a combination called a whippet, which is peppermint and frankincense. If you don't have both, it doesn't matter which one of those you have, it'll help.
And do you just put it in your hands, rub your hands together and inhale?
Yep.
Okay.
If you want to get in to affect the mood and the mind, the nervous system immediately, you do a hand diffusion, which is just to put it in your palms, rub your palms together. Here, let's do something.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
So, and I'll say for me, when I, if I have like a tension headache, I'll use either, this is our Mint Blast blend that we're smelling right now, spearmint, peppermint, and frankincense, or our High on Life blend, which is spearmint, peppermint, frankincense, and wild orange.
Yeah, which is my favorite of all time.
Oh,
So for that one, what I would do is I would just take one of these little 2 ml bottles, and I just take a tap under the tongue like this.
Okay.
One tap like that. I mean, whenever I have a tension headache, literally in 5 minutes, it's gone.
Wow.
And then you take the rest of what's on your hands and rub it on the back of your neck.
Cooling.
Yeah, which will be cooling and get into your nervous system, your cerebral spinal system, right? So then if that doesn't do it, I put some in my mouth, I put some in water, and I drink it.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So that should do it. And that's just 2 oils, peppermint and frankincense. You can do anything with, if you have peppermint, frankincense, lavender, and lemon, you have
and a lot of people will say if they have peppermint, if they have a headache, like on their temples, they'll rub a little bit on the temples.
You've done that,
or the
Adam.
back of the neck, or if someone really is, it depends on what's causing your headache, right?
Right.
So if it's tension headache from your shoulders or something like that, then a little Deep Blue rub on there is fantastic, and that's going to relax that. So you kind of want to think about what's the source of this headache.
Right.
That being said, if it's because you're dehydrated or haven't slept, the oils aren't going to do it. You need to drink water and lay down. Right? So that's kind of the big picture.
This is awesome. No, I actually am glad that we're doing this, kind of like taking a case study, if you will, and talking about it, because I think this is the point that we're all making, is that all of these things are beneficial and all these can be adjuncts, but what needs to be there is these pillars, these fundamental pillars of how you care for yourself. And I think that when you are meeting those fundamental pillars, then these things, the efficacy is so much higher.
That's why I'm so excited. I was like, they have the pillars. They already built the whole thing.
And
let's just slap some oils on it and grease it up,
The fun thing about the oils too is that you have your little kit of oils, or what are your little selection. Your body will tell you.
Right.
Like the more you use them, when you go to pick up your oil, sometimes your hand will just move to the one you need.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, oh, I didn't think of that one. You pick it up and you smell it and you're like, oh yeah, that's great. Let me take a little of that.
Like
how are we going to do it? Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I do this with my supplements. I swear.
Yes.
Like I have my magnesium, my vitamin C, my whatever, and I'm just like, I need, and I like make up my own little concoction for the day, and I'm
Every
like,
day.
this is what I need. This is what I feel I need, and it's just as good of a guess as anyone that's going to tell me what I need. So I'm like, all right, I feel like if anyone's going to like guess at what I should need, I feel like it should be my own intuition.
It's the same way when you go to the supermarket and you're buying produce and things like that.
Right.
You know, like some days you want the broccoli, other days you don't. Or,
Yeah.
You look at these berries or whatever's fresh. But even then, you're picking out like, well, I want this potato, not that potato.
Right.
You know, your body, you just know. You pick it up, and your body goes, no, I don't want that. Let me take this one. So your body just tells you these things.
Yeah. Right.
Man, so we're missing out. We're eating somebody else's food with this whole like Amazon delivery thing.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That is a weird thing. I mean, I've
is.
considered that, and I'm like, no, I gotta touch my fruit.
Yeah,
Are you
yeah.
kidding me? I gotta touch everyone that wants to come home with me.
Yeah, weigh
I
that
look at
grapefruit.
melons and be like, are you my melon?
No, you're not my melon.
This is not my melon.
No, this is cool. Okay, so let's just do a couple more of these because I love this. This is
Okay.
great. Okay, women with cramps. Cindy, I'm going to toss that to you because I figure Earl's probably not.
Well, I have my favorite blend for that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
My favorite blend that I never use.
Yes.
Which is the Clary Calm.
Okay.
Which comes in a 10 mil roller ball.
Uh-huh.
And
I call that my anti-murder blend.
Now, is it mostly but like specific for cramps or for just like
It's to balance yourself hormonally.
Okay.
It's almost all flowers.
Okay.
Right. And if you think about what the flower does for the entire plant, it is the reproductive system of the plant. And the way that plant medicine works is you can ask yourself, what is that plant part doing for that plant? And so then what will it do for me? Because Mother Nature is so generous that even though we're kind of assholes to her, she manages to turn that around and be like, I'm going to give you every gift I give to a plant to your body. So when we talk about that, like wild orange, it's from the rind. And what is that doing for that plant? It's its immune system for the fruit, right? So for cramps, that's usually a hormonal imbalance of our reproductive hormones.
Right.
And so if I just douse myself in Clary Calm, which is mostly flowers and hormone balancing oils like fennel and Vitex, right? Then my hormones go into balance and I can relax again.
Got it.
So it's great for the headaches associated with it. That's why we say, well, maybe it's a hormonal headache, which would mean that you want to throw a flower in there.
Oh, right.
Maybe it's a tension headache, so you want it more of a mint, something that has something that is going to release some dopamine, some anti-inflammatory effects. Maybe I'm having a spiritual crisis headache where I don't want to believe something or see something, you know, I'm resisting something. That's the frankincense part. Right? So a single headache or a single cramp can be a lot of things, but at the same time, if I say this is about my PMS, this is about my menstrual cycle or my hormones in some way, I'm just going to let the flowers do the work and correct me.
Yeah,
you know,
flower power.
Yeah. And we're actually doing an event called Pussy Power Flowers, right? And they're like, will you come? I'm like, of course we'll come.
Why not?
We're going to be like the bar, we're the flower bar, which is they're going to have cannabis and they're going to have us.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean?
Nice.
So like this is the new world.
This
right?
is the new
This is-
world,
this is
especially
the
on
new
the West
world.
Coast.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Okay, so
with like
so-
the Clary Calm, you roll it on. Like
Sorry,
if you have
yes.
cramps, you
Tangent.
actually roll it over where you have
If
cramps.
I have cramps, I roll it over where the cramp is.
Okay.
If I want to murder someone, I smell it to get it into my brain, right?
Okay.
If I feel all of those things, I do a lap around my neck because it's a roll-on and every single system of the body runs through the neck.
Okay.
So I'll roll it in a big circumference around my neck and rub it in. So now I'm sort of hormonally balancing my entire body. And I would do that about every hour and a half to 2 hours until the murdering feelings go away.
Until it subsides. So the clary though, does it have clary sage in it?
Yeah,
That's where the name
clary
comes from.
sage.
So clary sage has been actually shown to be pretty solid for male hormone balancing,
Also.
testosterone
It
boosting.
is,
Right? So
yeah.
I think it's clary sage and maybe peppermint I don't know. There was like a
Hawaiian
combination of 3
sandalwood
oils.
is also
maybe.
a good one for male hormones.
And it's like pretty significant increases in free testosterone, not just like total testosterone, but it's like been broken down pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for all reproductive issues, right? I mean, that the stamen of the flower is in the flower, right? So it's all there. The male and the female parts are in the flower. So we make a blend called Sex Mix, and it is all about balancing out your hormones so that and then loving yourself, basically, so that you can look at another person and be like, yeah, I love me, which makes you a lot hotter. And my hormones are revved up and balanced, and that's really what it takes.
Yeah. Okay. So what's one more, like, I'm going to toss it to you. What's one more common ailment or thing that you think the listeners would benefit from a quick
stress?
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. There you go. Duh.
So many oils for stress. I mean, it's obviously lavender's a great one, but they all activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is going to be your rest and digest system versus the sympathetic, which is your fight or flight.
Right.
So when you have the plants, the smell of the plants, the taste of them, that puts you in your gatherer mode, your collection mode. So that's going to activate that. That being said, for mood, the citrus oils are fantastic, well documented for that. Lemongrass, peppermint, lavender. So all those are good choices.
Okay.
Yeah, and we talk about it as a point A and a point B, which is, okay, my point A is I feel stressed, right? And then you can say, but for point B, I need to feel relaxed but energized, or I need to be calm with mental function, or I want to knock myself out and take a nice long nap. You know what I mean? So you get to choose your point B, and that is what's going to determine what oils we might suggest or the ones that you tune into.
Got it.
Right?
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if point B is I have to be at work all day, or I can't go to sleep, I can't go knock myself out, what's the best combo for that? Like, what's the best? Okay, I need to just actually get myself centered, focused, calm so that I can move through what needs to be done.
Yeah, if you think about yourself as a plant or a tree, then you can think about if you're out all day, you're out on a limb, you're away from your center, so you can use those fruits and leaves to uplift you, right? Because they understand your situation.
Wow.
They're hanging out there too.
Yeah. I love
by
this.
a tiny stem, right? By a little stem that's connecting them to the tree. When you're ready to come back home and go to rest, then you can go into the roots, into the bark and trees and the flowers. You get low, right? So, but if you're out there and you want to feel that lowness of being home and that sweet, sweet feeling, then you do woods and flowers while you're out there.
Oh, got it. Oh, I love I love
because
this.
There's all kinds of different stress. So there's different causes of it. It manifests in different ways. So we say stress is a kind of a cover kind of thing, but whether it's anxiety, depression, nervousness, worry. So someone who's anxious, is probably going to want something that's grounding. So it's going to be the wood oils. Like the balance blend is a lot of wood oils. Very, very grounding, very calming, centering.
I get overwhelmed.
Yeah, me too.
And with overwhelm, here, let's do it.
Yes, I get overwhelmed. So it's my own fault.
Yeah, I know, I do. This is what Earl said. What was that one GIF or something? It said, I couldn't possibly do another thing. Oh, look, a project.
Exactly.
So do this one into your lungs. So through an open mouth. So when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I feel that constriction. I can't take any more, right? I can't get it all done.
It's like fennel? Is it fennel?
This is all leaf oils. Oh. So when I feel overwhelmed, the leaves breathe for the tree, right? The leaves are collecting sunlight and oxygen and doing all that digesting of it for the tree. So when we give ourselves this leaf support, we can spread our branches a little bit wider, receive a little bit more, give a little bit more, right? So that's how I use.
Yeah, so that's got
point
eucalyptus, peppermint, ravensara, cardamom. So all these.
Ravensara. I've never even seen that one.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
think it's got Ravensara and Ravensara.
Wow.
Oh.
There's two of them with very similar names.
Not to be
You're right.
Completely different
confused.
plants.
These are different plants.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Wow, that's amazing. Every time we talk to you guys or ever obviously hanging out in Costa Rica, I always feel like, okay, I want to quit everything else and just focus on the oils. Like they're just so amazing.
It's a real fight. It's a real struggle, you know, because Earl does have a thriving sound mixing business and I have clients and I'm a writer.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like the plants have taken on a new consciousness. You know?
I totally agree.
And they have learned how to monetize themselves and put themselves in our faces.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
For
and
sure.
and I've been writing this little book and I'm doing it by chapter of my relationship with the oils, and I am Jasmine's bitch. You know what I mean? Like
yes, Jasmine is my role.
I am Jasmine's bitch because there was a time when doTERRA where you could only get Jasmine if you enrolled a certain amount of people.
Oh,
now,
wow.
I'm not a sales gal.
Yeah.
Right? Plus, like, I was making money doing other things. Like, who cares?
Yeah, right.
About signing people up, right? But I was like, that's the only way I can get Jasmine. So all of a sudden, I'm pimping myself and begging people. I'm like, if you like me at all, if you've ever thought about signing up, please sign up right now, you know, and I'll make you something with a tiny bit of the jasmine because, like, I am Jasmine's bitch. And I can really feel it in my bones that they're going like, hey, pay attention to me. Yeah. I am super important. I'm like, but I want to write a book about love. You know what I mean? They're like, write a book about love and flowers. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay.
Of Love and Flowers. There's the name of your next book.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I just feel like they're illuminated right now.
Something is up. And it's Michael Pollan, right? The Omnivore Dilemma.
Yes.
So he writes
Which is a
about
great
that.
name for a guy.
Yeah, exactly. But it was in the Omnivore's Dilemma, right? Well, anyway, one of his books, he talks about just the proliferation of corn and grass in general and how it has grown. And if you look at it from this perspective of, oh, look at how great humans are, they domesticated corn, and you're like, wait a second, you know, it's like, look at the opposite side of this. And then, of course, Dennis McKenna has talked a lot recently about the proliferation of the other kind of plant medicines, for ayahuasca and ibogaine and all of these hallucinogens and all of this stuff that have grown from this, 2 or 3 tiny little spots in the Amazon or in Africa or wherever they come from, and now are like household names, and so if you think about the power that these plants have over us to move and be communicated and create these experiences, is pretty interesting. Like there's definitely something up, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like,
I mean, let's not kid
thing.
ourselves, because that's what we were talking about before we turned the mics on, that Earl and I look at ourselves and be like, are we aromatherapists? Like, is this what has happened to our lives? You know? And I think maybe some people feel that way about their kids, where they go like, am I just like consumed by this other thing now? You know, and we have that where we're like, seriously, we're known as aromatherapists now. Yeah. Like, that's happening, right? So,
I guess that's happening,
Then let's roll with it, I guess. And I feel that push from, we always worry about, we're doing all this stuff to the plants. Like, no, she knows how to come back. She knows how to make herself known. And this is such a cooperative and civilized way of going about it, going like, that's okay, you love us, you can love us, and you can love us openly, and you can love us over other things that you've done in the past, and just feel really comfortable with that. That's something magical happening.
Hell yeah.
It's big picture stuff, I mean, and that's exactly Dennis McKenna's point in talking about some of this stuff, specifically with ayahuasca, is that it comes, and what a lot of people's experience is this reconnection with Earth and how important Earth is, and like, oh man, I've missed out on, or I've been very single-minded in what's going on here, and we need to start paying attention to a lot of other things. There's apparently like a super common theme, that comes out of this, and like, what better way, this epicenter of the Earth's gas exchange problem, fundamentally is in the Amazon. Like, this is where it's being felt. They're like, there's too much CO2 for us to deal with, and while the plants are stoked to have that much CO2 to eat, it's like, we got to deal with this problem. So I don't know. I think it's fascinating. And who knows if we'll ever actually know what's up, but I wouldn't be the least bit surprised, if the plants and somewhere in there, the fungi are probably actually in charge of what's going on, So there's
the fungi have made a powerful stance too.
Totally. I mean, like a total bird walk
it's everywhere underneath the forests. They're all talking to each other. The trees are all talking to each other.
Totally. So there's a mycelial mat in the Pacific Northwest somewhere. I can't remember exactly where the town is, but it's 2,500 square acres that this one mycelial mat, I'm pretty sure that's what it is, but it's big enough that it contains, by some people's estimate, I don't know even how you would do this, I guess if you study these kind of things, but it contains enough synapses to fundamentally equal a human brain from the way that it enough neurons, so to speak, in its mycelial mat. So it's like there's a 2,500 acre freaking human brain that's been around in the exact same existence for the last 4 million years and hasn't needed to evolve.
You're like, I mean, Earl and I are not spring chickens anymore. And the older I get, the more I realize that I don't know anything about anything.
Right.
And everything that I was told by somebody else needs to be reconsidered today.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because things are moving and changing so fast. And if we don't get into this flow, and to me, learning essential oils and plant medicine, just like I want to learn Spanish, and I'm really glad I have fundamental grasp of Chinese. You know what I mean? Like, who's really going to be people that I want to communicate with? What do I want to communicate with? So I spend a lot of time with animals, a lot of time with these oils, and a lot of time just trying to sort the languages out of these big picture things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I want to feel okay.
Yeah.
Just okay. And things are weird right now. So it's really easier to feel okay when you're communicating with that bigger picture. Did that just get too weird?
No. We haven't
I love
even
it.
scratched the surface.
We're like in it.
And one point I wanted to make about the plants is that the plants were around long before humans were. So we developed as a species interacting and surviving because of the plants, not the other way around. So they, like, our bodies understand plants because that's how we survived. That's how we developed. Right. So that's why where we get our connection, especially with the oils and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's our bodies have all the receptors already there to incorporate them in.
Right. Yeah, it's so weird to me that that somehow along the way we got so far away from this that this became a weird conversation. Right. This became did that get too weird? I'm like, no, the conversation that's been taking place with the pharmaceutical companies for the last 3 decades is weird.
And it's been going on for so long that we were just like these kids today are not going to know life without technology.
Right.
That we grew up not knowing life without pharmaceuticals as solutions. Because when you talk to his grandmother, you know what I mean? Yes. Like they come going like, no, that's all we ever did was plants.
Yes.
You know, like we're telling people like, no, we used payphones.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we had pagers for a while.
Yeah, there was a phase.
You know what I mean? Like we're trying to tell them, like, we used to see each other in person, like not FaceTime. Like we would show up and be there. Like, you know, like they're trying to tell us like, hey, there was a time.
Right.
But we didn't know, right? Because we grew up in the pharmaceutical era. So that's really all it is. And for your audience, you know, when I feel this connection, even talking to you guys, and your sense of your audience is like, no, they've already made a decision to return to primal as a perspective.
Yes, as a jumping off point for sure. Exactly. So I know we're getting close to an hour, but before we wrap up, the one other thing I want to touch on is essential oils with regard to animals, because I know that you work a lot with animals.
I do.
But I also know, or I've heard at least, that some are a little bit dangerous for animals, right? So maybe I'm wrong about that, but I was reading recently like diffusing certain oils can be dangerous for cats, maybe dogs too. So maybe we can just touch on that if there's any
I would love to, because there's a lot of myth around that. There's one that I would say, maybe it's not great to clean dogs' wounds with melaleuca.
Okay.
All right, because they, you're not letting them choose what you're putting on them, and B, their livers don't seem to process that one the same as humans.
And melaleuca is tea tree oil.
Tea tree oil, yeah. And so, but across the board, humans, dogs, and horses have a very similar reaction chemistry to the oils.
Okay.
The only thing that we consider when we're doing with those animals, right, is dilution level. They're much more sensitive. They need a lot less than we do. Now, I treat little kids, pre-verbal kids, the elderly that have lost their words, and animals exactly the same way. In fact, I treat everybody the same way. I don't even listen sometimes to people's words. You know what I mean? I'm looking for a reaction. So when the way you start with an animal with oils, right? And anybody really, is you put a little bit on your palms and you start to bring it closer to their face. Once you get about 6 inches to 4 inches, you watch for a reaction. They're very clear.
Yeah.
They're going to pull back a little bit. They're going to lean in and want a second whiff. They're going to smile. They're going to scrunch their face. They don't like it. You know what I mean? They're going to sneeze or shake their head, right? So these are primal reactions that happen with these because they're pure plant matter, right? So it's not like, oh, well, this synthetic versus that synthetic, do you have a memory associated, or does that smell like a fruit you like? No, this is plant matter that your body tells what it wants, right? So with animals, they'll tell us, like Dino, he's under 2, wants nothing to do with the oils. He's super healthy. You know, he tolerates that they're sort of on us all the time. We only use it for him if he's like cut himself, if he's, done something like that.
Or help keep ticks and stuff away.
Dino's
fleas and ticks.
Dino's a dog.
Dino is an animal. He's a 2-year-old giant. I don't know. What is he?
He's like a lab, Akita, something. I don't know.
But he's not your baby.
No.
I'm
sorry. Your 2-year-old son, Dino.
But I would do the same thing with that animal. I say a human animal. You know what I mean? Is if it didn't want it, it was fussing like no, please God, don't do it. You know what I mean? Don't be like, oh, it's safe, it's pure. It's like they have an intelligence, right? They might be allergic to that one. That might be exactly not what they need, right? Because there's opposing chemistry in some of these. Right. So first you do is give them a choice. Do they want it or not want it? Right? So that means when you're diffusing with any animals, dogs or cats that we live with, you want to give them a room that they can go into where there's not any diffusion happening. Right? So say in here, even if it's your bathroom, do you know what I mean? That the door is open so that they can make that choice. And then you want to take note. Oh, I diffused lavender and she went away. I diffused orange and she stayed in the room.
Got it.
Our little dog Boo Boo, we would diffuse lavender and breathe at night, and he had problems with his lungs because he had congestive heart failure, so he was getting fluid in his lungs. He would come and sit right underneath the diffuser whenever we put that on, and he also insisted on having frankincense on his liver treats.
He wouldn't even take the liver treat unless it had frankincense on it. And he lived. They gave me 2 months. They said he had 2 months to live. And he lived 15 months and was running on the last day. Oh, wow. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we really gave him a great quality of life, letting him choose what oils he wanted.
Okay, cool. So there isn't any super do not do this one, because I thought there was one with the cats for some reason.
You know what? There's a lot of mythical lore out there about essential oils.
Cats are more sensitive, but we've experienced we were in a situation where we were in a room, and the person they had a cat there, and they said, "Oh, don't get essential oils anywhere near my cat." Well, the cat kept laying literally on a stool at eye level right next to us while we had 20 oils open
in the presentation.
Like the cat was insisting on being amongst the oils. So we're like, the cat is a sensitive being. It knows what it likes and doesn't like.
Yeah, and it had a giant space to roam around with. So I always say, hey, trust yourself and know that animals trust themselves.
Yeah.
And these are not trickery, they're plants. Right. So that they know to stay away from certain things or be around certain things. So That's all I would tell people. Is like, be conscientious that you have an animal there. Dilute things way down if you're applying them, right? Which means put a carrier oil like jojoba oil or coconut oil with just a little bit of essential oil, right? That's how you would apply it. You don't want to dump all this pure stuff directly on an animal. They're way too sensitive for that.
Right, got it.
Right?
Yeah, and with any of that, you just start small.
Yeah.
Just start with a little bit of something.
And then sometimes always like for our bug repellent stuff we put on the dogs, we put it in areas where they cannot lick it, right? So that would be the other
behind
thing.
Their necks.
Behind their necks, on the center of their chest.
Got it.
Anywhere, but not where they're just going to lick it off and now be ingesting it.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And you said something there that I just want to like hover on for a second. And you said these are not trickery, because I think in the point I think you're making is that they're not, these are not oils that are, they're not a scent that the dog would be fooled into thinking is safe, and it's actually something else. Like, it is actually the thing that it's it's supposed to be.
We're not wrapping a pharmaceutical in a meatball.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So the dog's like, wait, it smells like something safe.
Now, our dog, we could wrap it in a meatball, and he would eat all the meat, and then in 5 seconds, just the pill would come out.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that with your animal? Like, they know.
They know what's in
They
there.
know. So I think if you trust yourself, the animal is probably someone who can be trusted. If you got a lot of noise and static in your air and you're going like, is this safe? Your animal is reacting off of you. Do you know what I mean? So that level of trust means something.
With our horse, we use either the deep blue rub, on his haunches and stuff when he's tight, he gets a stiff back and that kind of thing. He loves that stuff. You let him smell it and he loves it. Or lemongrass, loves the smell of that. Peppermint, they go crazy for peppermint. But then other horses up there, they smell it, they turn their head, they walk away.
Yep, awesome.
But like that new girl, she loves carrots, hates apples.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's her thing.
Yeah.
So that's why we can't ever do a blanket statement. But I do want to say, like, our most amazing animal story lately is our horse. We thought he was dead. He was, his lips were stiff. His tongue was hard and hanging out of his mouth. His eyes were glazed over. I thought I was just like sending him into the light with and I had the frankincense out for me because I thought this is it, you know, and he's 1,000,000 years old, right? So I just did the frankincense in my palms and then put it near his face, and then I put a little bit on his tongue. Then I did breathe in my palms and in his face, and darn it if that dude didn't just like kind of cough and burp and like blink his eyes and then try to stand up. And, it took 5 of us to get him up. But I mean, what?
That was like what, 6 months ago?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, literally,
now he's doing great.
dead.
And he's in his 30s.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're ready anytime.
Yeah.
I was having that moment where I'm like, oh, traveler, it's your moment. Let's send you off with frankincense. You know what I mean? And then like, boom, he's just up and okay. And I'm like, did you get a little too hot and tired? He's like, I feel better. So like, carry oils,
Yeah. If that story didn't sell you, I don't know what will, right? So folks, if you want to join the quote unquote challenge, I don't know if you're calling it a challenge, but it's kind of like
big picture wellness.
Big picture wellness.
It's really a prove it to yourself challenge.
Yeah, exactly.
Challenge. Yeah, okay. So you can visit Malibu Essential Oils /big picture.
MalibuEO.com/big picture.
Perfect. And we'll have links in the show notes.
Yeah.
The first 30 people get free sample oils. They just have to pay shipping.
Yep.
And you get to start learning about these awesome magical plant medicines. It's that easy.
Excited.
Bam.
So exciting.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Awesome. So thanks for making the trek to Venice. We love hanging out with you guys. It's great to just sit and chat and see each other and make eye contact and like be together. So thank you so much. We're glad that like this is always the cool thing about when people go on the retreats and they live close by.
Yeah.
We're like, we get to like actually be friends in real life.
Exactly.
And then, we didn't even get to hang out other than when we were driving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was always a lot of people. So this is super fun.
This is really fun. So we'll look forward to sharing that new adventure with you folks and with you guys as well. And yeah, we'll keep on keeping on. We'll have to have you guys back on again, and we can talk about the challenge. But, I really encourage people out there to, if you have any bit of interest or inclination towards this is such a great way to get your feet wet, and you're in the best hands with Cindy Lou and Earl and Jennifer Argandiza, and Adam and I will be in there as well. But you really do have an awesome team and guides and, wizards.
And if people have more questions about it, they can just email us as well.
Perfect. Awesome. And what's the email?
It's just info@malibueo.com.
Perfect. Awesome.
That's
all right, guys. Well, thanks for coming. We'll see you next time.
That was a
Okay,
blast.
bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
And that's a wrap, folks. I hope you enjoyed that podcast. If you did, you can feel free to scroll on down and leave us a 5-star review and
subscribe to the podcast.
Yes. So you don't miss any.
Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't talking because I was sniffing my High on Life oils. I'm like in an oil coma over here.
Yeah. Yeah. Super oily.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We hope you guys enjoyed that podcast. Leave a review, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Bam.
Bye. And